Just now, I'm just like I'm just comfortable in the system that we play, man, and they're allowing me and allowing the defensive front just to go out there and and make plays. To go out there and we're not going to tell you what to do. You know what I'm saying? We're going to tell you how to do the job, but go out there and be a professional when you get out there. And that was the biggest takeaway that we've taken since week 5, 4. I think we're just getting better and better. Not only myself, but Dwayne Smoot. Like he's been consistently beating tackles the whole year. Kudos to him and this D line, man. We just want to play for each other. We want to play for the back end, and we do it as much as we can to, to go out there and make plays. And I was just doing my job.
Hey Josh, Coach Myers said earlier today that one of the reasons why you and DeJuan might have been freed up a little bit is that Devon and Malcolm were getting a better push on the inside. So how does them getting the penetration help you guys on the outside?
I mean, it's obviously key. We can beat every tackle in the NFL every play, but if the inside is as big as my gap, then he could just take it in time. So they do a heck of a job on containing the pocket for us and allowing us to rush and continue to rush and continue to make plays on the ends. So we continue to harp on that and continue to grow as a unit because we all have to rush off each other, which we all know. But it's going to be better when it starts paying off for everybody.
And it was getting a little frustrating at times because you guys would get back there and the guy would step up.
Yeah.
And
that's what we got to continue to get better every year, every week. I think I know what you're talking about. We just got to continue to get better every week, and definitely last week I think we took a step up on just continuing to rush. DeHam got a good QB hit. They called it roughing the passer. Jahad got one. So we're getting closer and closer every week, and so now hopefully this week we can take those lessons and they pay off. So now everybody gets to eat. So then I feel like that's when the game is going to change for us and change for this team tremendously.
I have some people looking this up, but if you sack Josh Allen, it might be the first time somebody sacks somebody with the same name. And would that be kind of cool? I mean, when you think about it, a little piece of NFL history, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, man, like I'm just looking forward to playing against this team, man, and looking forward to playing against him. He's been playing at a high level recent. He's been evading sacks recent. He's been getting out the pocket. He's been scrambling. His own line does a really good job in protecting him. So I love this challenge. I don't want to really speak that, you know what I'm saying? But, we're going to get after them. But we have to do it early and throughout the whole game.
Not that anybody would get the two of you confused, one
Hope
being
not.
a quarterback and one being a defensive lineman. But have you ever gotten any mail from him for him?
I have. I actually got an email. I got an email. It was something. I'm not going to tell his business now, but I got an email with him, and I'm reading. I'm like, oh yeah. Then I went to the bar. I was like, I don't think this one was for me. And then, so that was the only hiccup I got from just outside of like just fans or whatever it says. So I thought that was pretty.
How much money did you
cool.
lose when you realized it wasn't him?
Huh?
When it was the wrong email.
It would have been good if it was on me. You know what I mean? I'll tell you that.
Josh, how important is it this week? Is it important to have a short memory? To harp on the Seattle loss or just get it over with and move on?
I mean, we're professionals. We've been in this game for a long time. We played a lot of football, and we know how difficult it really is to, like, move on. But, as a professional, next week, what I'm saying? So we learn from the corrections, which we did, and hopefully we continue not to make those mistakes. And, we limit those mistakes, and I feel like we've been playing good ball. So, we're ready to move on. We've been game planning for Buffalo since of yesterday, so, Monday. I feel like we did a good job on learning from those mistakes and learning from those corrections and getting with you individually and getting better from those. And now it's time to move on and not make the same mistakes as last week. So they always hop on, make new mistakes. So that's my big MO, is not to reiterate and not to keep going back and over, watching the same thing over and over again. Is to get better, and make a new mistake, if not none. So I think we're moved on, we're focused, and we're getting focused. And we just want to win this game, so we just have to play as hard as we can every play.
Miles said after the game Sunday that you guys, they felt everything leading up to that game was going well. Practice was going well. You guys, he felt like you guys were, recharged batteries, the whole thing. Did this loss, in any, was it more stunning to you guys because, okay, now you're in the middle of the season as opposed to the beginning when you were just kind of getting adjusted to each other? But I mean, the way things went down in Seattle, did that make that loss more difficult for you guys to kind of shake off?
I mean, I feel like in that way, I feel like it was just the penalties. You know what I'm saying? We had 12 penalties. We had an interception that got called back off a penalty. You know what I mean? So that was one takeaway that we missed. The roughing the passers, that was 2 that we took off. You know what I'm saying? So it's self-inflicted injuries. That's been, that's been a setback of ours. But like I said, man, if you go back and look at the numbers and look at the tape as a defense, I feel like we played fast, we played physical. Yes, it was plays where in the first quarter, I feel like in the first half, I didn't feel like we played together as a unit. But once it started getting later and later, we started playing. So and we held that team to I don't know how many rushing yards or how many yards in the second half. So as a defense, we have to limit those mistakes. Offensively, we have to limit those mistakes. So special teams, we have to limit those mistakes and just be more, cognizant of our own selves and not go back to making those mistakes. And I feel like that's how we improve and that's how we're going to get better.
Okay.
And yeah.
Going back to the Bills, Urban described the other Josh Allen, as a different cat because he said it was actually pretty surprising to him how mobile he's been. How much of a difficulty does that present for you guys, and how different is that compared to the other quarterbacks you faced the first 7 weeks?
Most definitely. This is what you asked me about the front. You know what I mean? It's going to be, a big game for us if we can control the line of scrimmage, if we can get that push in the middle, if we can get that rush on the outside. I feel like we can do a really good job of containing that. I can't say we are going to contain them. You know what I mean? But, if we do our jobs and we win our one-on-ones consistently and just get enough push to where now he's second-guessing, oh, should I scramble? Should I throw it? Should I do this? And just get hits and hurries on them and sacks. And I feel like, that's how we can really affect this game, especially with a quarterback like that. So as a D-line, man, this is a good week for us. And hopefully we're going to capitalize off it and do what we have to do because it's our job.
A surprise when you're watching the tape? I mean, I know someone he's hurdling defenders.
Yeah.
When you watch the tape, are you surprised with how quickly he can escape out of the pocket?
I mean, he's a professional quarterback. He's, a young, mobile quarterback, and he has a big arm. You know what I mean? I'm not surprised at all. His team has been playing really well. He's been, been dropping crazy numbers. So I'm not surprised. And, that's one thing I know out of that as a defensive mind, ball security. You know what I'm saying? So if you want to make those plays, you know what I mean, just know, we got guys coming for that ball. So jump or you do whatever you want to do. You know what I'm saying? We got guys coming for that ball, and that's our mindsets. But that's not taking anything away from him and the plays that he has made. But we're coming. So, yeah.
Not to beat the name thing to death, but that's kind of what we do around here anyway.
Beat the what?
Beat the name thing to death. We can beat subjects to death. Do you know anybody else named Josh Allen?
Yep, I actually do. It's when I was coming out of college. No, my rookie year. When I was in my rookie year, there was a guy coming out, Josh Allen coming out of Miami, Ohio. Okay. And DB, and I talked to him just a couple times, and I know there was one, and then Josh, the other Josh, then quarterback Josh, and then there was like a random person named Josh Allen that followed me, and I saw it, and I was like, okay. Don't follow me.
Arkansas had like a 4-star tackle named Josh Allen.
Yep.
Played football here. Yeah.
That was I don't think I was still in college. Yeah. I was like a freshman in college.
Yeah, he's from here.
Was he?
Yeah.
Huh.
And on a similar note,
I know who
Seattle
that is,
Seahawks had a cornerback by the name of John Reed.
Okay. I was like, okay, I got you.
Thanks.
I got you.
Who was
Thank
the
you, guys.
in college?
Appreciate it, bro.
Thank you.
Thanks, Josh. Sorry, John, I had to bring that up.
I don't think
What's going on? How we doing today?
Trevor, how important is it this week, one, to look at that loss against the Seahawks and harp on it and learn from it, or just forget about it and move on?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think we're past the point now of looking at it because we've already, we came in yesterday, I guess Monday actually. Came in Monday, watched the tape together, met, players talked, coaches talked, all that, and we know what we got to fix and we know what we didn't do well, and now you just got to move forward and you got to go back to the confidence that we had before of we know we can do it and just go out there and produce. And really, I think just flush it and go. We got to get ready for this week. Obviously there's a lot of mistakes to correct, but we can do that, and we know it's simple things that we can control. So we just got to get better, and we're going to do that this week.
You had a pretty animated discussion on the sideline with Tavon after that play. How do you normally address things like, because obviously, miscommunications happen quite often. Is that something you normally address right after a play? Might you address it at halftime, after a game? Does it work differently when it comes to conversations like that have to be had?
Usually it's right away. If you're in a situation where you can, it's addressing that right away so it doesn't come up again in that situation. Just got to get on the same page, and stuff like that can't happen between quarterback, receiver, tight ends, whoever it is. We just all have to be on the same page. It's one thing. People are going to make plays, and you tip your hat to that, but as far as just not thinking and being on the same page, we can't have that. So just correcting that right when you see it, and we all got stuff to work on. I got to work on my accuracy. I wasn't very accurate last week, and so that's something going forward I got to get better at and give my guys more chances to get their hands on the ball and run after the catch. So we're working.
Do you think you're going to see a lot of more coverages where they're taking away your deep threats and making you force the underneath throws? You thought they did a lot of that?
You're talking about Seattle?
Yeah, you think you're going to see more of that?
Yeah, I think that's something that around the league people are starting to do is play more zone, more too high, and try to eliminate the big plays. And that's something that Buffalo does a really good job of. So I think it's just adjusting, and when you have your chances, taking advantage of them, you're always, every game you're going to have a few chances at some shots, but you really got to take advantage of them. In some games you won't get as much as others, and you just never know what kind of game it's going to be till you're in it. And last week we didn't have a lot of chances down the field. They played a lot of too high, and we just didn't do a good job of staying on schedule and converting third and fourth down. We had opportunities and didn't do that. So every week it's a little bit different, but you see that for sure around the league more so now, I think, than ever. Less single high where they're trying to just stop guys from making huge plays.
Both in the moment and then when you watch the tape back, how much did not having James not only affect the play on the field, but also you as you're making decisions, as your comfortability in the pocket?
Obviously when you any good player that you lose, it hurts and it's going to affect the game. But I didn't think it was a huge change as far as scheme or anything like that. Whenever he came out, we stuck to what we had planned and just didn't execute well at all. Then we got behind, obviously, so then we were trying to catch up, and you're throwing the ball more than you want to, and that was kind of the story early in the season, and that's what we didn't want to get back to, and we did. So that's something that just continuing to grow and not put ourselves in those situations. But then obviously, like you said, when James goes out, that's hard. He's a great player. When there's nothing there, he'll make a play out of it, and when there is, he maximizes it. So when you lose a guy like that, it's hard. But we got other guys that can play. I thought Los did a really good job, and just next man up. There's really no excuses. We got to play better.
In looking at the Bills' defense, obviously the 4-3, Urban said, there's not a lot of those in the NFL these days, and maybe the Texans would be the only other one, and kind of the Seahawks. But in preparing for this defense, how is it different than others that you guys have faced so far?
Yeah, this is the first one since game one, the 4-down structure, and I guess that's what I'm more used to from college. That's more, you get more 4-down than odd and bear and all that stuff. So I think that's easier to go back and prepare for this when you have the 3-4 with the stand-up backers and all that on the edge. I think that's a little bit harder because it changes the way you ID everything. So I think this is always like reverting back to what we're used to, going back to 4-down, but it's definitely different. You look at pressures different and structure changes when you have a front like that.
Is it kind of harder to disguise pressures when they're in the front like that?
I'd say a little bit, because you got the bubble somewhere, and usually that gives you a good tell of where the pressure is going to come from. And but they do a good job. They don't try to trick you really. They do what they do, and they do it well. I think that's what they're first in almost every category in defense. So you see they're really disciplined, really smart. They just fly around, high effort, got guys making plays. They had, I think, 13 takeaways. So all those things, it doesn't really matter if they disguise it. If they're where they're supposed to be, they put themselves in a position to make the play, and they do a good job of that.
Josh Allen just was in here and talked about how he's excited for a bounce back opportunity against a team that's considered, one of the best teams in the NFL. How do you feel about that? Does it matter whether the next team after a not so good game is elite or is struggling? You're just wondering if you feel like playing against one of the elite teams is kind of a great opportunity after what happened last week.
I mean, it's always a good opportunity when you're playing a great team. You got a good opportunity to go out there and show what you can do and go beat a really good team. But every week, I mean, any team can beat you. You see the Seahawks had lost a few in a row, and we came in and laid an egg, played terrible, and they killed us. So stuff like that, I mean, every week you come ready and play your best to win. And so doesn't matter who you're playing. That's the motivation, is that you can get beat any week, and you can beat anyone any week. So that's how we look at it. But it's definitely exciting to get an opportunity to play them because they've been playing so well.
Knowing you've studied other quarterbacks, I think you've mentioned Josh Allen before as a guy you've kind of looked at a little bit. Stylistically, where does he fall in the grand scheme of quarterbacks in the NFL that maybe you watch or just that we're seeing right now playing in the league?
Yeah, I mean, he's really unique. I think just a guy that can get out of the pocket, use his legs, but he's also, 240, 250, he's huge, and then strong arm, a little bit of plays kind of like Patrick Mahomes, but I think runs more and just looks like he has fun out there, makes plays, and that's a guy that I look at. We're similar, I think, in traits. He's a lot bigger than me, but just someone that I look at that I can pull things from, just what he does well. And I think that's been someone that's been cool to watch. And we had one of the same trainers, Jordan Palmer. So I've kind of seen him around, met him, talked to him, and I think he does a really good job.
Let's take one more. We're good?
Awesome. Thank you all.
Trevor,
I got one more question.
Dan Arnold.
Is the hair something considered your rest of your career, or something you'll probably grow out of?
Well, I think as long as Dan's here, I think we'll just, whenever one of us cuts it, maybe the other one will too. So, all right.
Did somebody send you the picture?
Bye, Trev.
See y'all.
Well, don't all jump on that once here.
Yeah.
Dan, could you just talk about what you feel like the locker room's response has been these last couple of days to what is obviously a loss that you guys didn't want to put on tape at all?
Yeah, I think the locker room is similar to what it's been the last couple of weeks. I mean, we're working hard. We're putting forth every good rep that we can in practice, trying to put together all the pieces. And I think it's one of those things that in the NFL, it's not so much, you're going to go in and beat the brakes off somebody in any given day. It's really just a 1-0 mentality. No matter if you win or lose, the previous week, you got to come in and you're going to have an opponent that's going to be really tough, no matter what. So it's just focusing on each week and growing from there and getting closer to the goal that everybody has in mind of winning. But yeah, it really is just a 1-0 mentality, and that's the way I think everybody sees it.
Yeah, Buffalo's not real exotic in what they do,
Mm-hmm.
other than the fact that you guys haven't seen a 4-3 as Trevor said since the first week. But do you find that sometimes teams who use a lot of crazy stuff, like maybe Miami, maybe they're doing it to disguise personnel, but now you got a Buffalo team that's strong almost everywhere, and they keep it simple? Is that a tougher defense in some ways to go against?
No, I don't think so. I think Coach Bev put it pretty well in our offensive install meeting today. When you have a team like that that's pretty simple and they just execute well, that's essentially what we have to do on offense as well. It's just going to come down to execution. We got to minimize the mistakes and not have penalties on first down, second down, and get behind ourselves. And really just throw and catch and be as accurate as we can in the pass game and continue running the ball like we have been. And I think we've been running the ball really successfully, and it's something that we can continue to grow at. But yeah, it really just comes down to execution. That's the biggest thing. Whether it's an exotic look or a base look, I think it's more about us than anything else.
Dan, are you fully comfortable in the offense now at this point?
There's always some wrinkles that we have. The biggest thing is not having those reps in training camp where it was like, okay, you saw it one way and the quarterback sees it another way, and then you're able to grow from that mistake or that miscommunication in training camp where it tends not to mean as much. So it's just, coming in during practice and getting those extra reps, trying to get all the little details and fine nuances of route running and everything worked out with Trevor. And we've definitely, we've come a long way. And the best thing too is that, he's such an easy guy to communicate with too and talk to. And after, in the meetings, what happens off the field, I think, is just as important. Watching film with him, seeing how he sees things, and also bringing, some stuff that I've had from other teams, giving him some new insights. But yeah, no, I think I'm getting there. It's definitely, there's always going to be room for improvement, 100%. But yeah, it's getting there.
Trevor said that he feels like, more teams around the league are going to too high safety looks to eliminate big plays. Because as a pass catcher, what kind of challenge do those kind of looks give you? Because I know Buffalo, does that quite a bit.
Yeah, there's always going to be probably another guy coming at you when you're catching the ball. And really it is. It's just, what are we going to find the right answers to what they're throwing at us, and then are we going to execute it well? But that's the thing, is like, you can have a two-shell look and you can look at it and say, hey, they're bringing too high this rep and they're going to rotate down and it's going to be something different. But it really is having answers to everything, no matter what they throw at you on a given play, and then reading it correctly and executing it. That's kind of the more important thing, because a lot, you're going to have pass concepts put together where it's like, okay, this is your 2-side, this is your 3-side, and that's just kind of how football works. But it just comes down to executing it, making the right read, and moving the ball.
Coach Meyer called you one of the fastest tight ends in the league today. Do you feel like that's your strength? Are you deceptively fast? Do you still find yourself maybe fooling some guys out there?
Yeah, I think so. That was definitely one of the things that Coach Payton saw in me in New Orleans, and he liked a guy that could just go clear out the middle and make room for guys like Ted Ginn and Michael Thomas. But yeah, no, it's something that I've always kind of leaned on. It's like, when in doubt, if you're just moving as fast as humanly possible, it kind of makes routes and coverages kind of just void from everything, and you just tend to beat people. And then if you have a good quarterback who's going to put the ball on the money, you might not make the right read on a given route, but if you beat the heck out of somebody, then it's all going to work out in the end.
How much of that, the separation, I know obviously with injuries to the wide receiving core, how much has maybe your role kind of changed in that, you do offer that explosive speed that a wide receiver might?
Yeah, I spent my entire first year in the wide receiver room on injured reserve in New Orleans, and so I learned a lot from CJ there, and he's a tremendous coach on route running and technique. And you pick up a lot of things that maybe some tight end coaches don't have. Dan, who I had in New Orleans, he was a tremendous tight end when he played and has a lot of knowledge of the game. But, just from not doing it and not coaching, that traditional wide receiver position, you kind of pick up some things. And yeah, it really is about the separation and, having those little tricks and trades where you can give them a little hesitation somewhere to know when you're going to break. And that's really is working that break point to create the separation. That's the biggest part of the league, not just speed. I mean, you can have a guy who's just flat out crazy fast, but sometimes he's not going to separate because a guy's going to be able to play him well. But yeah, no, I think that's something that's always been unique that I can bring to the table. And then, my biggest thing throughout my career is I want to be the complete tight end. I want to be able to block, and that's something that I need to improve on more than anything, so that I can be that guy that's on the field 3 downs and not having to come off when we need to run power or something like that. And it keeps the defense on their toes. That's always been my goal, and it's something that that's what I keep working on.
So is that a really fine balance there to add the weight to be able to block a linebacker or defensive end while maintaining your speed?
Yeah, no, absolutely, and that is something that you go into the off season and you're like, okay, I want to put on some weight, but it's like, okay, we got to do it the right way, which is the hardest thing. And it's also it tends to be the weight that you shed off in training camp pretty quickly too, unfortunately. But yeah, no, I think at the end of the day, it's more your strength and your play strength, which helps you. Like, yeah, I can be 240 versus 250, but if I'm not playing with that strength of 250 when I am, weighing that much, it doesn't mean as much. So it's really playing with good contact balance, having that strength behind you, and not just overextending yourself. And that's the stuff that I've been slowly learning, taking a lot of reps at it for sure. But I feel like it's getting there.
Looking at the Bills, obviously that defensive front, pretty ferocious. So we're talking about blocking. What have you seen from that front seven of theirs?
Yeah, I played him last year in Arizona, and that was the DeAndre Hopkins Hail Mary. So I know how close of a game this is going to be, and how much we're going to have to be focused till the very end. But the thing that I like about our front as well, in comparison to theirs, is that we have a bunch of guys that are going to give it their all every single play from quarter 1 to quarter 4. And we're gonna have, we're gonna wear defenses down, because we got some guys up front that just work, and that's always been our thing. When we get installed, do our base run installs, it's like, hey, we got athletes and these guys can go. They had a tough training camp here, I know from what I've heard, and they're ready to compete for 4+ quarters, and that's the strength that we have to play to. We just have to keep pounding the rock, keep going, keep hitting it, and just know that, okay, this 60-yarder is going to bust sometime, and it's coming. Just expect it. It's going to come. And I think that's our strength, and that's how you beat a team like that, because they're going to be technically sound. They're going to play very well. They're going to maintain their gaps. They're going to be well coached. But at the end of the day, it's just, okay, we got to just wear on them, and then when they finally do slide, that's when we got to take advantage of it.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks.
Thanks, Dan.
Appreciate it, guys.
Appreciate it.